And so it's Monday night. We're already rocking. Welcome to the Power Seat, Maudy Shingirai. Shingie Nhuta is the co-founder of Girls in Tech Zimbabwe, a Zimbabwean social innovation practitioner, venture builder and digital product leader with over a decade of experience driving multi-sector transformation across Sub-Saharan Africa, working at the intersection of technology, education, health, and social impact. Her career spans telecommunications, digital services, ed tech, and enterprise development. She has led the strategy, implementation, and scale up of technology enabled solutions, including digital learning platforms that have reached more than 1.2 million learners across the African continent. Kudos. Her experience brings together product development, user adaptation, strategic partnerships, customer experience, capacity building, and operational delivery, giving her a systems level perspective on how technology can translate into meaningful, sustainable impact. Shingie, good evening. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Tich. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You must be quite tired. I believe you had a very successful week. And how did STEAM 2026 go?
We did. It was a really amazing day. The girls came out, the speakers came out, everyone was ready to network, to learn, and it was a really amazing day.
What was the single biggest moment for you that showed at the hashtag Give to Gain theme come to life?
Well, I think there were a number of things, but the main thing that I would point out is the fact that the speakers that we brought through, who are industry experts, came and gave it their all. I mean, they shared their lived experiences, real life stories, and they did not hold back. And I think that level of pouring out into our participants for the conference, most of whom are actually students, was really amazing. And beyond that, many of the panelists were actually the ones who sponsored the girls who were unable to pay for their own tickets for the conference. So they gave quite a lot, but the best part of it is that they did attest to the fact that they also gained in their interactions with the students.
Wonderful, well done. So what was some of the feedback you got from participants, mentors, and partners?
We got some really good feedback. I think mainly positive. I don't think we had any negative comments. Maybe people were just being nice, but just taking it from all the positive feedback that we got. A lot of the girls, and this is what stood out for me the most, came to the realization that it is actually possible to be successful in male-dominated fields as a female without losing yourself. And the reason for this is because they saw people they were listening to people sharing their journey who have walked the same path that they're trying to path, who have been imposters or felt like imposters in the same way that they're feeling like imposters as entry-level professionals, or as, being the only one of two females in a computer science class. So the reality of hearing that from someone who's walked that same journey actually ignited that hope in them to realize that, it is actually possible to do it. And on top of it, still be a mother and still be a wife without having to choose, should I be an engineer or should I take the social path?
Okay. Now, for some of the young girls who attended the conference, what do you think the greatest lesson was this past weekend?
Again, going back to the feedback that they gave, I think the greatest lesson was that they need to be intentional about their careers and what they want to achieve. They actually need to visualize where they want to go and be intentional in terms of the activities that they're doing, the friends that they keep, because it was not just about the technical expertise or the learning the hard skills, but then the conversations were around even just real life experiences and the things that people face as females every day. And again, it came back to intentionality. You need to be intentional about showing up, intentional about speaking out, intentional about actually going for what you want.
Yeah, all right. So speed mentoring was part of the program this year. What are the top 3 questions that these young wannabe superstars in IT kept asking you guys?
I like how you call them wannabe superstars. Just they're not wannabe superstars. You will be surprised. Well, funny you should actually frame it like that, because one of the questions was around how do I actually build the confidence to take up space in a place where I feel like I'm an imposter. So they actually do feel like they don't belong there. I suppose there are a lot of dynamics to that in society, but they feel like they don't belong there, and they want to know, how do I actually build up the confidence? And that was one of the key questions that came about. The other questions were around the actual growth, personal branding. How do I position myself so that I'm visible? And then lastly, there were quite a number of questions around how do I access the right opportunities, like job opportunities, remote opportunities, get to work for international companies, and the like. Yeah, so it was mainly around career growth, personal growth, as well as building the confidence to actually be able to take up space.
Yeah, so the imposter syndrome is quite a big thing, right?
It really is, yeah. It's very sad how much it actually affects young girls as low as high school. You know, they're already
Yeah.
feeling it where they take up science subjects, and you know there are always very few girls in those classes. It gets worse as you get into tertiary level, and even worse when you start working. So it's definitely something that we still have a lot of work to do on.
Okay. So Girls in Tech Zimbabwe has reached 3,570 plus beneficiaries and 651 community members. How do you turn a one-day conference energy into a year-long support system?
So we intentionally try and make sure that we leverage the momentum from the conference to get the girls into all the other programs that we run throughout the year. And these fall into the categories of, firstly, upskilling for those who want to increase their certifications or learn new skills, or some of them are actually coming from totally different disciplines that have nothing to do with STEAM and want to get into those sectors. So we provide opportunities for them to get scholarships, for them to get access to online learning or courses, etc., at little or at no cost through our various partners. And secondly is the mentorship. So while they had speed mentorship during the conference and they were able to spend a couple of hours with industry leaders, we actually have a mentorship program where we then now pair them up with a mentor, and they can continue to receive that continuous guidance and support. And then lastly, you know, girls, we also just want to have fun. So we create spaces where sometimes we could go for a hike or we could go for a picnic, and the girls could just come out. We eat junk food, we listen to music, and we discuss menstrual health and hygiene, or relationships, or mental health, that kind of thing. So it's just creating different spaces, not just to do with academia or your career, but then creating a wholesome person who also understands that, you know, I can just be me, I can be social, I can have girlfriends who will help me when I'm feeling down.
Yeah, fantastic. So Shingie, beyond coding, how did the conference show science, engineering, arts, and mathematics coming together in modern day STEAM careers?
I think this year we really made an effort to include other disciplines within those those thematic areas, the less popular professions, or the less common rather. And the speakers did a really good job of then showing how, even though they're specialists, for example, in AI or in geospatial science, it still then intermingles, and every discipline comes together and works together. And in those discussions that they were having, they were actually just bringing that out to say, we are using geospatial science and Earth observations to be able to solve problems of climate change. They're using biotechnology to be able to come up with health products for the communities where they're working in, and that then just showed that it's not single streamed. Everything intermixes, including even the arts, because the creativity is what leads to the innovation. So there was a lot of discussions around that creative thinking, coming up with new innovations by looking beyond just the technical abilities of coding, or I'm an engineer, but then how are you applying your engineering? And they really, in those discussions, the panel discussion really brought that out to show how everything intermingles.
Okay. As we look yonder, what role should employers, universities, and the media play to support women in STEAM?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that, and I hope there are a lot of employers that are listening. Obviously, beyond sponsoring, I think employers play a very important role in creating the type of culture that is for those that are already employed within various companies. Employers have a role to create a culture where everyone can feel, and I'll say everyone because this is not necessarily a feminist movement, where everyone within that organization, male or female, feels that, if I put in the work, if I'm intentional, if I show up, I have a fair chance of actually then getting whatever reward comes with that, whether it's the promotion, whether it's taking up leadership roles, where everyone feels included, that kind of culture, creating that culture. And then for the students, employers also play a role in creating opportunities, whether it's job shadowing, it's internship, work placement, for relevant, where the students actually come and do relevant work. Besides actually just saying we're taking interns, and then interns come and they spend their time getting coffee, or being sent to do things that have nothing to do with their actual learning, and don't really contribute to why they've come for an internship. So I think that those are the major things that I would say that the employers, the major role that the employers can play. When it comes to academia, I think the universities, particularly, can also take up the role of creating cross-disciplinary innovation hubs. There are a lot of innovation hubs, but they're centered on specific themes. Whereas, like the question you asked me earlier, how did we show that there's intermingling across all the various disciplines of STEAM? I feel like universities have a role to play in actually positioning the innovation hubs to bring everyone together. It doesn't matter whether you're doing commercials, it doesn't matter because everything still intermingles and can contribute towards coming up with the right type of innovation or the right type of solution, as opposed to keeping the robotics guys doing robotics at the innovation hub, and the commercial guys are supposed to stay, I don't know, in the commercial building or whatever. Everyone should come together and work together to co-create.
Yeah, this is such a great initiative. Shingie, how are you going to take it beyond Harare? How can young, gifted, scientific ladies plug into your system?
Well, we have made sure that many of our programs are actually available online in terms of the upskilling programs, as well as the mentorship. However, we are trying to make sure that we take the STEM in Hills conference outside of Harare. So next year, we definitely will not be starting with Harare. We promised, and I'm going to say this on air because I really did promise her during the conference that, we'll start with Masvingo next year, just because there were people who traveled all the way from there. And it's a little bit ridiculous that someone would have to travel across the country to come and get access to industry leaders that she otherwise wouldn't get to speak to. So that definitely gave us the push that we needed to make sure that we take the conference across the country, as well as just making sure that our mentorship program also reaches the girls across the country.
If we were to take a look into the crystal ball, what new skills or roles do you see emerging for women in Zimbabwe's future?
Yeah, there are very many of them. We're seeing a very high demand, obviously, around AI specializations, but not just generic AI. I think for women, there's a great opportunity in AI, in tech for development, applying all the technical skills, whether it be in AI, in coding, towards actually coming up with mission-driven enterprises that can obviously generate revenue for sustainability, but then solve real problems in society. Women naturally have a knack for being carers and taking care of others. And I think there's a very good opportunity there for women in Zimbabwe to use the technical skills, whether it's in AI specializations in software development, to be able to apply them for purposes of development. Another one that I think is coming up is sports science, which has not been very popular, but I think that is something that we're seeing coming up, and more women taking up space in that.
Okay. So as co-founder, what is the next big goal for girls in Tech Zimbabwe after your successful conference this past weekend?
Our immediate goal is, as I did mention, we need to take the conference out of Harare and make sure that we reach all the other provinces as well. And not just the provinces within Zimbabwe, but we are also making plans through our subsidiary, the Girls in Tech South Africa, to take the conference to South Africa as well. The conference is just the spark, but then it then feeds people into the community for them to be able to access all the other programs. So wherever we go, it means that we're growing the community, and those people will then be able to access all the other programs.
Fantastic. Indeed, girls are doing it for themselves. Shingie, thanks for getting in touch with us, and we wish you only the best.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good evening.
Good evening.